Now listen up.
Because Insights EDU 2025 is coming, and this is the conference you don't want to miss. Meet us February 12th through 14th in New Orleans for one of our favorite higher education marketing and enrollment management events of the year. Imagine 3 days packed with actionable insights and the latest innovations in higher ed. We're talking top industry experts, real-world case studies, and hands-on workshops designed to help you grow your programs, boost engagement, and elevate your student experience. This is your chance to hear the latest higher ed trends from speakers at Google, Reddit, Meta, MIQ Digital, and schools across the country. Mark your calendars, get your team, and get ready to welcome the era of the modern learner at Insights EDU 2025. Register now at insightsedu.com and secure your spot. We'll see you there.
Attention.
Registration is now open for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education 2024 Annual Conference, Protecting the Future, Champions for Higher Education, December 11th through 13th, 2024 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Don't miss out. Register today at msche.org/annual-conference or head to msche.org and click on the conference link. I'll see you there.
Hey everybody, it's Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. And hopefully you know by now that we have started our subscription-based model where we have original content, bonus content, get invites to special events. So right now it's $2.99 a month, and as of January 1st, 2025, it's going to go up to $19.99 a month. So go to edupexperience.com, edupexperience.com, look for subscribe now to lock in that lifetime EdUp Experience founders rate. $2.99 a month, edupexperience.com. Look for subscribe.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio on another episode and another episode and another episode.
All systems go.
Everything is working apparently today. I said on an earlier podcast, I spent some time downloading some new sound effects for my guest today. I thought, you know what? This is a good opportunity for me to put some stuff. And then I found some for me. And I said today, I recorded earlier, and someone asked me recently if I will ever stop podcasting. Like, when is enough enough? You're almost at 1,000 episodes. And I thought for a while, and as I was going through these sounds, I found this, and this really explains what I think the future holds for me in podcasting.
You'll have to kill me to be finished with me.
So there you go. Apparently we'll be doing this forever and ever. And what I really like to do is bring together combinations of hosts, not I'm the host, co-hosts and guests to really hit on some organic conversation that I think needs to be had. And I want to say, and as I've said in recent podcast episodes, we exist to talk about the good things happening in higher education. The EdUp Experience wants to celebrate the work that our leaders are doing. There are enough naysayers out there. We can put them up in a line and we know what they have to say. I can regurgitate the same messaging. There isn't really anything new. The new is what institutions are doing to serve students. That's what's new. That's where the innovation truly lives. Somebody who is innovative, in fact, he's so innovative, I'm pretty sure he went out after his first co-hosting gig and now has a full podcasting setup in his office right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get him on the mic. He's Kevin Harrington. He is the CEO at Rise Education. What's going on, Kevin? How are you?
I'm great, Joe. Thanks for having me back again. And let me just say that how dare that person ask that question of you? You better be doing this for a long, long time. Agreed. But yeah, very happy to be here.
Is it true, Kevin, that you have gone out and purchased or thought about purchasing podcasting equipment? Because
it's been purchased. It's been purchased. It hasn't been used yet, but it's been purchased.
Is that really necessary?
Apparently so. It's a good question from the audience. Good question.
Everyone's doing it these days.
And you're a pro, Kevin. You do a great job, and it's an honor to have you here. And of course, Rise Education is a great partner, amazing partner of the EdUp Experience podcast. And I encourage everybody to go out and check the work that Rise is doing to really help change this industry. Kevin, so we appreciate your efforts. Our guest today is an esteemed higher education leader. I'm pretty sure she's never been on a podcast before. So anytime I can get somebody that's on the podcast, and this is the first one, I can safely say that no other higher education podcast you will ever do will be as crazy as this. They'll all be much more normal. So this will be unlike any experience you have. But the work that she and her leadership are doing at this university, you hear about them all the time, or at least I do if you're paying attention. Let's get her on the microphone right now because she is bursting with energy to talk about what's going on at Bellevue. She is Dr. Mary B. Hawkins. She is the president at Bellevue University. Mary, welcome to an EdUp. Mike, how are you?
I am great. I love that's the first introduction I've ever had where I've been told I'm bursting with energy. That's so much better than listing all your credentials.
Surprise.
I will say you were on mute, and we were talking before we hit the record button. That, you're on mute is kind of the new thing that we say in this world. And I was like, in my head, I'm going, it's 50-50 whether she comes off mute or not when I introduce her. But you did a great job. You came right off mute and nailed it. See, now you're already a pro.
Am I done then?
This concludes the episode of the EdUp Experience podcast with Mary B. Hawkins. No, it doesn't, Mary. We have so much to talk about. So let's just foundationally set us up. Where is Bellevue University? Who do you serve? And how do you serve them?
Bellevue is in Bellevue, Nebraska. There are a couple of other Bellevues. Bellevue in New York is quite famous for another type of clientele. And Bellevue in Washington, there's some confusion, but Bellevue, Nebraska, middle of the country, we serve overwhelmingly working students. I would say adult, but college students are already 18. We know they're in the adult phase, whether they act like it all the time or not. But our population is hugely working students who are coming here to advance their careers. And interestingly, role model for children was something I hear over and over again that I did not think about with adults returning to college. Our average age is 33. So wow. That's our population.
You know, the best part about serving the working adult learner is graduation, when the parent is walking across the stage and you've got kids and grandkids in the audience saying, go mom, go grandma, go dad. It's a complete reversal of everything that we've understood in higher education from a traditional sense. And the energy around that is even stronger than the traditional, right? I mean, you just see these, it's an amazing moments. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And what's even, part of that, not more remarkable, it's surprising how many of the students, because we're in a major way in the online education business, they fly in for graduation and they bring their families. We've actually had them from African countries in full garb, from whatever tribe they're affiliated with in their country. But the horns and the calls and the go grandpa are wonderful.
That's the best. Here's what I know about Bellevue University, and I'm a student of the game, as it were, in higher ed. Obviously, I've interviewed a lot of people. I've been doing this for over 5 years, and I have 23 years in higher ed at an administrative level. Bellevue's a lot of times first to do things. I know you've done work with Straighter Line, and you really one of the first to online degree programs to serve the adult working population. And I just go, man, I wish other schools sometimes would try to be first. And our disposition in higher ed a lot of times is to say, well, let's see who gets there, and then we'll make a decision and we see who. But you guys have been a trailblazer across many different initiatives. How do you keep that mindset going at Bellevue through the years?
You're right on the first. I would say it's baked into the culture. And it is when I look at what kinds of concerns for the future is, how do I keep that culture alive? How do I keep that willingness to innovate, and especially as we've grown? And I think it's a couple of things. It's emphasizing with employees, you're here because of your ideas and your experience and your expertise. And even though Bellevue's right outside of Omaha, and I say, even though there is an Oracle in Omaha with Warren Buffett, I said, we don't have an Oracle in Bellevue. So it's your ideas and it's what you bring to the table. It's your feedback. And I said, you see things that I may not or a dean may not. So everybody here is responsible for the growth. And it is also part of when we've done kind of typecasting, you get different marketing firms who come in with, I'm not going to call them gimmicks because the whole marketing arena will be mad, but they typecast, I see Kevin laughing, but we were typecast as kind of a maverick, willing to break the rules, willing to go out there. And we've truthfully taken kind of pride in being different and being accused by academic institutions of not being legit. It's kind of a badge of honor for Bellevue people.
I love that. And Kevin, you're trailblazing yourself. I mean, there is something to be said for somebody going, you know what are you doing out there? And you setting the pace, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would applaud your efforts, President Hawkins, and I think we need a lot more of that across all of higher ed. And your institution's a testament to exactly that need and how well it can be served. I mean, on my end, I'd love to maybe just quickly follow up on that question Joe asked with another one in a similar vein, which is, if you were speaking to other presidents across the country who maybe are trying to move into online for the first time or into grad or into working adults, they work in more traditional institution, and they have a limited budget, as many schools do. They can only make so many bets each year, especially being in a place where you are the first to do things. So an even bolder bet than most colleges might even consider. What advice would you have for them on really the financial and cost side of things, of how to make those bets responsibly, how to do it in a way that doesn't, risk the whole house or the whole ship on one program or one new school you're expanding into?
That's a good question. And I have had a number of presidents talk to me. Some of them are afraid that they're too late into the game and that they missed, the ship sailed and we're not going to catch up. It's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Yikes. And I try to tell them that innovation at your institution has to be part of what you're doing. And if an initiative has not been adopted by your institution, but you can see online is only growing, and even with traditional students. So it's important for them to get in. The 2 or 3 things I tell them is, first of all, use Bellevue University if you want. We had a call this morning from a medical school asking us to help them a little bit with curriculum development. I've given away curriculum to 2 colleges. I've stood up a program at another college. So use your peers. Bellevue University is not better off when other institutions fail. That is not good for us if the higher education landscape in the United States is not strong, because we need it to further our country. So I encourage them to not think that this game is over and that they missed it. It's not. It's still going. It's still part of the future. Find your faculty who want to lean in. Find those faculty who are willing to try. Don't force it where it doesn't go. Support it. Bring the resources to bear. One thing that Bellevue did when we started online in 1996, I watched what the high schools had done, and it may have been around that time frame. You'll remember where they were putting Apple computers in the classrooms, and the teachers didn't know what to do with them. And I thought, we can't give a technology without support. So we started then with just a couple of people, help the faculty understand the technology, know how to use it, help them design their courses. So now we have a department that does that. And I'll be honest, Joe and Kevin, if you have schools that want some advice or want to understand resources or want to leverage things, we are happy to work with them and help them, because this country needs great workforce going forward. it's more and more competitive, and we all know who those competitors are.
Yeah, I love your air of collaboration because a lot of times we go to these conferences and the cards are held very close to the chest and everyone's trying to do their own thing, and I get why that happens. But being open to that collaboration is huge, and a lot of what we try to foster amongst institutions here at Rise. On that note, you mentioned how to really empower your faculty with these opportunities. Make this like an exciting thing for them, not a threat or a challenge. I noticed you also have a PhD in human capital management, which probably has helped you over the years sort of traverse those different obstacles. Um, in this culture that might be best summarized sometimes by Brian Rosenberg's book, whatever it is, I'm against it. How do you bring your institution along and specifically the people to support this change, to lean in on innovation and to sort of continue to foster that culture? Maybe especially in the early days when maybe that culture wasn't quite there.
It goes back, you used the word in what you just asked me. It's support. They have to know that we're going to be behind them. Some things may not quite turn out right, and that's fine because you don't adopt new technologies and new practices without. But I think the support, both psychologically or culturally, or you can try something. We're willing to go to that is critical. And then, as I said, the support. But I think you create an environment where it is safe to be innovative and safe to fail. And and fail isn't like the whole institution collapses, but things I can't even count the number of things that we thought were brilliant, not so much when we got into the practice of them, and you just move on and work forward. But I do think it's support from the deans, it's support from the institution, support from their peers, it's your culture.
Now listen up.
I love it. Good advice. And I want to double down on that because I picked on that too when you talked about find the faculty that really want to make the change happen. And I think that is a key piece of advice. And someone was talking to me. I was doing a keynote with the Missouri Registrar and Admissions Officer group, macro. Anyway, I know the acronym is. And we were talking about the change model, the 20-20-60 change model, right? Like 20% of the people will never be on board with the change, no matter even if it makes common sense. They're just not going to ever be there. 20% of the people are your trailblazers, like they're ready to make change just to be messy. And then you've got 60% of the people on the fence. And when this person was talking to me about this and I kind of repeated it, I was going, I can't tell you the number of times in my career when I was focusing on the 20% of the people that will never change. Like I was putting 80 to 100% of my effort into trying to change the minds of people who will not change and not focusing on supporting, to your point, those trailblazers who would get stuck because they didn't get the attention they needed to create the innovation. And you've been there for quite some time. I also wonder if there's, I don't know, a cred piece that goes with this, a swagger, if you will, where you've kind of hit a couple of home runs and then you go with another change and somebody goes, hey, you've knocked it out of the park 5 times. I'm on board, Mary.
There's some of that. I think we really do recognize faculty. We have annual awards for innovation for faculty and staff. They're rather coveted. People, when you recognize and support the behavior and become an advocate for them and give them more opportunities,
right?
Give them the opportunity to present or to travel to a conference or whatever it is. I think it's huge. The other thing that when you were talking, it reminded me years and years ago when I was a new president, one of our board members said, Mary, when the institution is going to follow where you head, if you spend your time worrying about something that's broken, that's where they're going to turn their attention. So I kind of have a mental model in my head is if something isn't working, just don't water it. I don't start pouring water on something that's not working or somebody who doesn't want to do something. I just let them die on their own. I don't make a big deal out of it. I just let it go. But that was one of the most sound pieces of advice. And that's kind of what you were saying. Follow your leaders, reward them, give them recognition. People want to succeed. Faculty want to do a great job. They want success in the classroom. They want their students to perform. They want to be recognized for what they do to develop and create strong employees for the future and graduates. So it's not that hard. It's not that hard to map a path that does that.
Epic.
I would probably be able to find a few people that would tell you that it's a little bit harder than you make it sound, but and because I've talked to them. In fact, I remember one president I was talking to, he said he called it assassination attempts. He had 2 assassination attempts on him, one from faculty no confidence vote and another from like a board coup. And I go, man, it's tight out there. And obviously you've been there for quite a while. 30 years coming up, almost 30 years as the president of Bellevue, which means you've seen many different situations in higher education, including what I think was a black swan event of the FAFSA simplification change, and made it through all of that. Now, 30 years is about 28 to 26 or 25 more years than the average tenure of a college or university president today. So I think you made it past the I think you're the only person out there pumping up the average right now to 5, or else it'd be 3.5. What's the secret to staying power at this level, Mary? Because all eyes are on you all the time, 24/7.
I think it's 3 things. One, I am ultra transparent and always have been with faculty. Here's budgets, here's why I can't do more here, or here's what we can do. I think transparency, communication, we're using more and more opportunities for town halls and for audio, messages, etc. And then I think the third thing is get to know people. You're in a people business. Don't sit in your office. You've really got to go out and meet people. Go to the things that matter to them. If the faculty have students doing presentations and you're invited, go. If you're invited to their classroom, go. Support them in sincere and authentic ways. And then you can create a culture where they'll walk with you. We have a lot of trust here.
Has there ever been a time, Kevin, I'll hand it back to you, but I'm sure there has been, but if there hasn't, that would be amazing to know too. A time when you were on the fence and you said, you know what, do I want to do this for another 5 years or 3 years or 10 years? And when you had those moments, if they existed, what kept you going all this time?
Hey everybody, it's Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. And hopefully you know by now that we have started our subscription-based model where we have original content, bonus content, get invites to special events. So right now it's $2.99 a month, and as of January 1st, 2025, it's going to go up to $19.99 a month. So go to edupexperience.com, edupexperience.com, look for subscribe now to lock in that lifetime EdUp Experience founders rate. $2.99 a month, edupexperience.com, look for subscribe.
Mark your calendars now for February 12th through 14th, because this is where we welcome the era of the modern learner and the most anticipated higher education marketing and enrollment management conference of the year. We're headed to New Orleans for Insights EDU 2025. This year's event is packed with speakers from companies like Google, Meta, Reddit, and MIQ Digital, and schools across the country. Ready to learn how AI is transforming the marketing landscape and how to adapt your programs to the preferences and demands of the modern learner? Then Insights EDU 2025 is where you need to be. Register now at insightsedu.com.
Attention.
Registration is now open for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education 2024 Annual Conference, Protecting the Future, Champions for Higher Education, December 11th through 13, 2024 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Don't miss out. Register today at msche.org/annual-conference. We'll see you there.
I haven't had them at Bellevue University. I'll be honest with you.
That's
the
awesome.
Institution's phenomena. I've had them at other places, And they happen when I feel like I'm not free to do the kinds of, I don't have a runway to work in. And knowing how I I expect that other people feel the same way. So they have runways. I don't control and know all of what's going on at Bellevue. People are, when they have the ability to make the changes and to do the things that they want and to take things forward, the performance is amazing. Occasionally I'm thinking, oh my goodness, why did they take that turn? But you know, when you're in this innovative entrepreneurial group, you're going to occasionally think, oh, I wish they would have asked me about that one. But there's nothing I can't kind of unwind with their help. So I think everything comes back to culture.
Outstanding.
And President Hawkins, obviously, to your point there, and to Joe's line of questioning, you as an individual have done an amazing job of keeping yourself up to date with the changing landscape of higher ed and keeping yourself an effective leader for your institution, for your community more broadly. When you take a look at your learners and how they've changed, if they have, over the past 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and even just in that online realm and all the technological advancements that have been made, et cetera, do you think Bellevue has had to really transform how it approaches those learners to make them successful? Or has it really just been sort of the same core principles all along that you've just consistently doubled down on?
We changed tremendously. And I think all institutions are in major states of change now. Not so much relative to like a FAFSA or, those, but learners today are less equipped. And there's a number of reasons. And I think it's going to get a little bit more challenging in the near future as the COVID learners come through. We've had some experiences that have really caused the faculty, and we've worked with them, and we were transparent. We said, students don't have the same skills. And I wish you could hear from some of our faculty who looked at the courses and said, we've got to provide a little bit more on-ramp. They're not ready for English 101. So how do we construct the pre-English 101 classes to get them in? And how do we think about working with students? Adult learners often haven't had a math. Math is one of the classes. I love math. Not everybody does.
You're one of one people in the world that love math, Mary, I think. But
yeah, give me a calculus problem. But we have got to really enable the students to develop the skills to succeed. I love what Sal Khan is doing. I learned from him where he said they don't get it the first time. He had an example at one time. I was at a conference with him, and he said a student went through one of their modules 38 times before they got it. And it's, you go back to Edison and others, repetition and learning, people need time for that, and they need ways to do that without ending up with flunking out and being forced out and all. And I think it comes back to what are the ways that we help learners develop the skills? Because I will tell you, that's a struggle right now. And we're adamant about meeting students where they are. In an open access institution like Bellevue, we're going to get an array, and that array has been harder lately, but the faculty are doing tremendous work in responding to that and building the confidence and building the skills. But it's not starting a student in English 101. And I could use all kinds of other, you get the model.
Absolutely.
Go like it is.
And meeting the student where they are, which is a lot of what you're trying to do and keep up with the pace of change of where those students are, I think is something that most institutions could probably learn a lot from with how Bellevue approaches that. And I think it's consistent with what when you visit your website, two words you see a lot are open access. And open access being the premier open access university in the United States, being sort of the goal you've set for your institution. Can you describe to the audience what exactly you mean by being the premier open access university in the United States?
It's having the institutional response to students to be respectful of where they are, to show them how they can achieve their goals and how they can succeed. And we're honest, Bellevue doesn't have all the programs some of the students may need. So we're also work with community colleges, work with others, work with outside tutoring firms when we need additional assistance. But I think respecting individuals, letting them know that we believe in them and that we think that they can get there. Yeah, you're not quite ready for, this class or that class, but there's ways to get there, and we're here to help you. It's that innate respect for the individual and their capabilities and their competencies, knowing that all of us have different things we learn easily and different things that take us more time, and that those aren't negatives on us. It's a realistic, how do we help you, and how do we think you can do it? Now let's help you get there.
Yeah, and sorry, Joe, go ahead.
No, you keep going, Kevin. I like it.
Yeah, maybe just one other follow-up question. You mentioned that learners come with different needs, different preferences, different desires. And when you put out a mission statement like that or a goal like that, I think one thing presidents can struggle with at times is, well, what sorts of programs, learner types, modalities fit within that mission and which ones don't? And which ones don't can often be even a harder piece of that equation. You mentioned that you all are very honest and transparent in what Bellevue does, and when what a student wants doesn't fit within that purview, you help them find the right provider of that service, that educational experience. How do you think about defining what fits within the realm of your mission of this open access institution, and where do you sort of draw that line and say, you know what, we're going to let other people be the best of that. We can't be, everything to everybody.
Well, one of the things that you were talking about were different programs. We're strong in business programs. We're strong in like IT technology programs. We do some healthcare. We're not in the clinical healthcare realm. It's not an area that I think Bellevue has the bandwidth to play in. So we work with learners who want those. We may offer some general education or some classes, but I do think we're not in engineering. We're pretty open and honest about where we have the ability to offer and deliver programs and where we don't. So some of it's programmatic. Most learners are really, most adult learners are not confident that they can do it. They've been out of school for a while. And so I think that's give them that opportunity to get there, even if they're going to go on to another school. Even if we know you want an engineering program or you want to become an RN, we can go so far with you. And let's make sure that classes you take at Bellevue transfer. I can't answer that. You need to call the advisor at whichever school you're thinking of. We don't want students to waste money. We don't want them to have to repeat courses because time is precious to an adult learner.
I like that.
I've done a few of these interviews, and the whole notion of meeting students where they are or being student first, most of it is from those that I talk to, it's the way their mindset is, but practice is not reality. It's not. And so much of it I hate to say it's completely garbage, because people will say, we're going to be a student ready college. And then you go look at their PLA policy or they don't do anything with straighter line, for example, or I've literally talked to people that will go, well, we don't even look at credentials or anything like that. I mean, if they take any Coursera stuff, we're just not even going to look at it. And it's like, well, if you are student first, if you're going to meet students where they are and you believe these students are coming to you with transfer credit, which I mean, like how many students are coming with transfer credit? Tons. Or they're getting credentials somewhere and they want their skills assessed. And credit for prior learning, or PLA, prior learning assessment. Do I have those right? Credit for prior learning assessment. Same thing. But how do I get rewarded for the experience I have? And to me, and this is a selfish view I have, it's like that is the one thing where I say, if you are willing to sit down with a student and say, bring us all the experiences you have and come to us and we're going to help you navigate through all of that and come up with credit that you've earned, is what student first really is. An institution that says we're student first and then says, well, we actually don't accept credits from that thing or that school. I mean, our faculty don't want to believe that that school has the same rigor as ours, even though they're accredited by the same, formerly regional accreditors. And so then I get worked up about it, Mary, and then I go, tell us what student first really means, because I know that Bellevue is positioned that way, and I know tactically you operate that way.
We do. And I think that I'm going to, from the president's point of view, I think that there's a lot of institutions that think if they give up any of those credits, they're going to lose revenue or, something. I find the more that we do that, the more that we give students, we'll take an automotive associate's degree. AASs are welcome at Bellevue. That's hugely part of the backbone of this country, are what used to be called VOTEC types of degrees. We accept them fully. But the more that you leverage what students learn, it actually is the more that you can grow. There's some of these myths around higher education. And quite frankly, you see them, they're using, not only are they accredited by the same person, they're using the same book. And sometimes with adjuncting, it can be the same teacher. And
you've got that right.
It defies logic what they're thinking. But we articulate corporate credit. Long time ago, we followed the ACE model and KO, which I know those are changed now, but we take corporate credit, we take military credit, we take what students have learned. They grow and they can leverage those. They save money, they save time. It's huge. And you know what? We're growing. In fact, one of the things, if you ask me what's on my mind most, it's growth. Handling growth appropriately, making sure we keep bringing good staff on, making sure we look out to the future about how we're going to grow. But all of the things that you and I have talked about with Kevin on this call, those are things that create growth in this market. And I think that people who think not don't understand the reality of how students make decisions and how corporations decide where their tuition remission dollars are going to go.
And let me add this, because this is the other one of the most fascinating things about higher ed that I have studied and written about, is the lack of loyalty that we have as students to the institutions we get degrees from. You talk to doctors, right? Doctor, EDD or PhD, and me. I went to 3 separate institutions. I went one for my bachelor's, one for my master's, one for my doctoral. And I remember being in my bachelor's degree and not knowing that my institution even had master's degrees, or that my master's institution had doctoral. Didn't even think about it. And then you go, how do you develop loyalty? Well, I'm going to work with you to give you this credit that you've earned, this prior experience. And you're going to have such a great experience here at Bellevue University that you're going to come get your master's here, and that you're going to get or you're coming in with credit toward a master's degree, and we're going to take it, and you're going to end up getting your doctoral degree here, because you're going to feel affinity and loyalty to the people that help you. And I mean, I think that's also a big part of this. Is I love when it's very rare when you have a student, and some institutions don't have all levels, but when they do, when you have a student that raises their hand and says, I got all 3 of my degrees at the same institution, and you go, that is where higher ed can go to grow.
Exactly. It's not only leveraging their ability to move and looking at what are those pathways that build, but sometimes allowing the work to translate among those different degrees so that it's not always cold start. Okay, you've leveraged some of your senior level work into your master's, some of your master's into your doctoral studies, but to get the students' loyalty, you have to respect and treat them as you want to be treated, and that is not belittling their prior education or their prior experience or any of the expertise they bring to the table. The other thing that what's funny is I have families of students where the parent went and then the sister and the brother went of the children, and you create family loyalty, which I never expected to see in higher education, but we've got some examples of that. And they're at graduation all excited about, we're going to walk across together.
Love it. Kevin?
Yeah. On that similar note, I noticed that your previous experience at Bellevue actually started in the enrollment office where you were the VP of enrollment. Were there any lessons coming from that background, spending years in that office that have helped you think, be a better president than you would have otherwise been? Any different perspective maybe that coming from that background has sort of given you in the seat you've now occupied for decades?
All your experiences, add up and create what expertise you bring to the table. Vice President, I told the president when he hired me, because I was coming out of the community college as the chief academic officer, and I said, I don't know any of this. I remember looking at my desk the first day and they were doing radio commercials then, and it was language I didn't understand. It was like 3 times 60 times, it was the timing on the ads that they were paying for. I had no idea. So it was really learning how do you relate to prospective students, and what are the key kinds of messages that they want to hear. We try really hard to be authentic in that messaging, and that has to be, I think what I learned there is if you're marketing statements about what they're going to have, real learning for real life or unparalleled care, you better deliver on it, because they quickly learn that those are false claims. You don't really put your money where your mouth is. Joe alluded to that before. One thing that you didn't bring up that I'm going to bring up, in my previous job, the first academic dean position was of the industrial tech programs at a community college. I had the automotive and the auto body and the drafting and the electronics and welding. And I will tell you that really informed my view of education. I was a liberal arts kid, private schools, private Catholic schools here. And I had no idea of the level of learning and application that the industrial tech student had to do. And it really informed a broad range of respect for degrees. In English, you can get an 80% on a paper and it's fine. You cannot get 80% on a brake job and it's okay. Those brakes have to work. And so we've really embraced that whole array of education here. And that was not just the enrollment. If you claim it, do it, or only make claims for what you do, and also understanding that learning happens at high levels in a lot of areas that I think higher ed doesn't always recognize.
I love that background, because you're right. The skilled trades, that experience that you had, and I had similar type experience. I worked in for-profit education for a number of years, selling those vocational programs. And it's always hard for me to hear somebody discount that education and say, well, yeah, it's a skilled trade, but we do degrees here. And so it's not relevant education. You go, this person is fixing your car. They're taking your blood. They're literally fixing your airplane. Like that means something, And so what does it mean? And I'm glad to know that you're answering that question at Bellevue. Boy, can you tell I get passionate about that? Mm-hmm. I'm the one bursting, but, I love the work that you're doing. And I want to just take a quick minute, if I could, give a shout out to Chris Haymerchant, who proctored or organized this podcast with you, Mary. I think she's sitting over there listening silently, but Chris is a great colleague in higher ed doing work for Bellevue. And she probably didn't know that I was going to give her a shout out on this podcast, but I did anyway. So there you go, everybody. Follow her on LinkedIn. She does great work. And you got a good one on your hands there, Mary.
I do. We have a phenomenal staff. I think that our staff is one of the top in higher education. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, Bellevue's going to shine right on through.
No buses going through Bellevue University tomorrow, just in case. Kevin, you have any final questions for Mary before we give her the final two to take us home?
Yeah, I guess my last question might just be, what's next for you, both personally and as an institution? You have a very ambitious goal, the premier open access university in the United States. What are you really excited about over the next few years?
It's probably not going to be what you thought I would answer. We're really looking at, I know everybody's AI and talking AI, but I've got a couple of projects going on with some outside groups, and I never know whether to use their names or not, but I'm looking at how can AI make faculty more efficient and effective. There's some administrative types of work and repetitive type of work that we're looking at. What can AI do for faculty instead of having the faculty worried about what chat GPT assignment students set in? And also, can we use the AI throughout? We've got some major initiatives going on. For example, we had 1,300 students in Florida. Everybody knows they just went through a hurricane. Yeah. How do we let the faculty know specifically, here's the student you may not hear from, because they may not drive all the way back to see where's the student living right now. So I'm looking at AI to really help the faculty. Now, I know the faculty are looking at it for their classes and their curriculum and love all that, but I'm really focused on how can this tool really advance higher education and increase the ability of faculty to work with students on the things they need instead of repeat doing, their 15th test of a program as to whether it runs or not, or does the balance sheet actually balance?
Yeah, I like that, right? So there's a way where AI can help improve the human relationships, rather than it just taking a task away from us that we are doing on a daily basis. How does it help enhance our human connections? And that's I like that you're bringing that up, because I think that is really the future of artificial intelligence, is how it gives us more time to connect with other humans. And I think that's what you're kind of getting at.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Mary, let's give you the final two. This is the open mic moment. No question. What else do you want to say about Bellevue University?
Wow. I would say kudos to you met Chris. She's phenomenal. Chris is so representative of the faculty and staff here. I told them before the HLC came, because the staff and faculty always start getting afraid. Oh my God, am I going to say the wrong thing? What's going to happen? And I told them, I cannot be more proud and honored to work with you. I have complete confidence in the abilities that you've got, but it's the staff, faculty, board, and students here who make Bellevue what it is. It's no individual, and it's certainly not a single role in a president's office. But wow, now I'm afraid somebody's going to try to poach them. We have an amazing group of people who work hard, innovate every day, and have the wisdom and the experience and the thirst to be passionate about students.
Well, one thing I know about higher ed recruiters is that they probably have already contacted your staff and your staff has elected to stay. So, that says something, I think, because there is not a shy higher ed recruiter out there. If an institution is growing, they're in front of the staff, and that's the way it goes. So kudos to you, Mary, for relational leadership, right? You have to have good relationships with your team to make them stay, and you seem like a great, authentic leader in higher education, somebody that we can all learn from if we want to make it past year 5 of a college presidency, which I know many do. We hope you had fun here, Mary, on this podcast as you got to talk about Bellevue today. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Now I have a question. So help me figure out, how do I keep protecting our employees from the poachers?
You don't need to. I think as your institution is growing and you.
Yeah, I think just keep doing what you're doing, Mary.
Oh, I cut out. Yeah. I mean, I was probably ranting, but I do notice that people are leaving higher education, and when you have the right ingredients, like you do at Bellevue, people stay, and you get to do great things.
Thank you for that. Our tenure, our length of service is it's in a good number, so we do keep people. Thank you both.
Speaking of good numbers, Kevin, this is number 2, the second time you've ever co-hosted with me. And Mary, how do we feel about Kevin's co-hosting abilities today? An A, a B, if we had to give him a letter grade?
Oh, yeah, definitely A+. He really complimented you, Joe.
Oh, well, look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest co-host today, Kevin Harrington, CEO of Rise Education. Check out Rise and the great work they're doing in the industry. Kevin, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Joe. And Mary, I don't believe this was your first podcast.
Yes, it was.
You did a lovely, lovely job. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. I think maybe first and last.
First and last. That says something great and not so great about the EdUp.
There you go, Joe.
Here today. Ladies and gentlemen, my amazing guest, Dr. Mary B. Hawkins, president at Bellevue University. An absolute pleasure. Mary, thanks for being here.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd.
Attention.
Registration is now open for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education 2024 Annual Conference, Protecting the Future, Champions for Higher Education, December 11th through 13th, 2024 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Don't miss out. Register today at msche.org/annual-conference or head to msche.org and click on the conference link. I'll see you there.
Hey everybody, it's Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Hopefully you know by now that we have started our subscription-based model where we have original content, bonus content, get invites to special events. So right now it's $2.99 a month, and as of January 1st, 2025, it's going to go up to $19.99 a month. So go to edupexperience.com, edupexperience.com, look for subscribe now to lock in that lifetime EdUp Experience Founders rate. $2.99 a month, edupexperience.com, look for subscribe.
Higher ed leaders, ready to level up your marketing and enrollment strategy? Join us at Insights EDU February 12th through 14th in New Orleans. The ultimate higher education marketing and enrollment management conference is here. Take advantage of early bird prices until December 12th. Register now at insightsedu.com. Welcome to the era of the modern learner.